Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome to my Let's Play of Quint's Revenge. Quint's Revenge is basically a Mega Man fan game slash semi-remake of Mega Man 2 or Rockman World 2 for the Game Boy. Well, it started out as a remake of sorts, but it evolved in its own unique title of sorts. It was developed and published by ACESpark of Sprite Incorporated. And my playthrough of this game will consist of mostly no-death runs of each of the stages, as well as going after the Robot Masters just using Buster only, at the boss fight specifically, just like in my previous Mega Man game runs. Note that this game is currently in alpha, version 27, so there are quite a few bugs here and there, as I'll point out in this playthrough. But still, it's mostly solid, though a bit easy overall, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Anyways, in the background, there's basically a backstory of this game. Here's Quint, aka Mega Man 37,000 years into the future, after being defeated by Mega Man in Wily Fortress during the events of Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy, so Wily is discarded of him, but it seems like his protocols have been overridden, so Quint now has control over himself. So now, off screen I decided to change the options so I don't have automatic movement, but anyways, here's the game itself. We have our weapon select screen as usual, and we have an intro screen. Now, Quint comes with 5 extra abilities from the normal Mega Man. For one, he can actually jump when he falls off the ledge. That's pretty nice. He also has the ability to duck, like over there. What this will do is it'll substantially decrease his hitbox size. I think by half, so I can dodge, for example, the Hammer Joe's hammer throws. And the greatest ability I believe that Quint got, well, over here he has magnetic gloves, so he won't be knocked off a ladder if he takes damage. But the greatest ability he has is his dash, which I'll be showing off more here. By collecting that item, you can call his Sakugarne, aka his pogo stick. But the greatest ability Quint has that makes this game quite unique is his dash ability. It's similar to Mega Man X's and Mega Man Zero's dashing, but it's a bit different. For one, you can actually dash in mid-air. In other words, you can start dashing when you're in the middle of the air, or you can dash starting from the bottom, and it increases your horizontal distance without sacrificing your jump height. Here's the intro boss. Basically, just keep shooting its fists until it dies. There's really no invulnerability frames for this, so it's very, very easy. Going back to what I was saying, what makes the dash so fun is that as long as you hold the dash button down, you'll continuously dash, unless you take damage, of course. So it makes for some nice speedrunning potential. Anyways, I just went past the stage select screen, and as for the order of the bosses, I'll be going through the classic order of Mega Man 2. In other words, I'll be facing off against the first against the 4 Robot Masters who were present in Mega Man 2, then against the 4 Robot Masters who were in Mega Man 3. At the start, we have to run away from that giant gear. You basically must use your dash in order to survive. And over here, we quickly collect the Sakugarne, or Quint's pogo stick, and pass through all these presses, as well as Sniper Joe's. By equipping the Sakugarne, Quint's basically immune to almost everything except bottomless pits, so that's pretty nice. So that makes passing through that tackle fire pit much easier. Here we have to pass through all those pots of lava, as well as all those tackle fires, and the mini-boss of the stage is basically a giant blocky. Of course, like all mini-bosses in Mega Man, or most of them, it doesn't have any invincibility frames, so it's pretty easy to take care of. Now, another nice utility of using the dash is that you could have completely skipped this segment by just dashing over all these enemies. In fact, this is true for a lot of different segments in this game, and ACESpark seems to encourage you to use the dash quite a lot, like in segments like these, and for good reason. It gives a lot of speedrun potential, and makes the game much more of a fast-paced experience. Here's one of the bugs I was talking about earlier. Yeah, you can basically open the gate of the boss and walk away. And also you can actually shoot pellets just as you entered, which can actually get some cheap hits in. Here we have the Metal Man, who's basically the same in Mega Man 2, though less predictable in some regards, a bit faster, and he also has the Metal Catch over there. If it hits you, it'll take out a large life energy pickup from you, and if it hits him, he'll regain that amount of life energy back. So be careful and make sure to dodge it, either by ducking or jumping over it. But alright, we defeated Metal Man and we got the Metal Catcher, which is basically like a nerfed version of the Metal Blade. It basically has the same amount of ammo, but instead of being able to fire in all 8 directions, it basically acts like the shock gauntlet from Mega Man Rock Force. In other words, if you fire it straight, it'll go towards that target, but if there's nothing under it, it will basically just fall with gravity. Though you can spam it quite a bit, it acts like a nice Metal Blade analog. Anyways, we have Airman stage here, which seems to be based more off of, well, Mega Man 2 from the NES. To pass through that segment, make sure to remember how to duck, otherwise you'll get skewered on those spikes. Here, I also passed over that Air Tiki segment quite well just by using the dash. Like I said, using the dash is basically a high-risk, high-reward scenario in a lot of cases, where you can basically skip a lot of hazards or just speedrun the game in a pretty fun fashion. In fact, I would suggest that once you complete the game a few times to abuse or use the dash as much as possible to make for a lot more fun, intense experience. Though the dash is a little bit finicky at times. Here we have the mini-boss of Airman stage, this Lightning Lord. Not too bad, especially with the Metal Catcher arcing back towards you. Be careful, there's some surprise attackers from here. Yeah, I got nicked by them a few times during my practice runs, so always be on your guard. Just wanted to regain some health, and yeah, I almost died there, but thankfully because of the ability to jump off of ledges, it made me able to survive that. But as I was saying at the beginning of this video, this is basically a semi-remake of Mega Man 2 for GBA. Although, looking at it seems to take a lot more elements from Mega Man 2 on the NES. And some new elements, like this segment where you have to jump on these clouds and avoid all the spikes and obstacles. I don't remember this being on the NES or the Game Boy. So yeah, like I said, it evolved into its own beast title of sorts. Although, in some regards, this title is a bit easy. And the stages feel quite short. But anyways, here's Airman, who basically fights the same way as he did in Mega Man 2 for the NES. Of course, now you can dodge those one-block high tornadoes just by ducking. And he's very weak towards the Quint Buster, or Mega Buster. But in addition to his normal attacks, he can also release all those pippies, which more often than not actually benefits you more, as they can drop a life energy or weapon energy. And for that, we get the Air Shooter. And unlike the Metal Catcher, it basically acts the same way as it did in Mega Man 2 for the NES. But as I was saying, as you may have noticed, Metal Man's and Airman's stages are quite short. This is true for pretty much all the stages in this game, barring probably the last stage. These stages really only take 2 or 3 minutes to complete. 2 if you're speedrunning it. So yeah, kind of short. And combined with the fact that these aren't really that challenging, the enemies as well as the weapons you get make for kind of an easy experience. Especially considering that you don't actually have there's no way you can actually increase the difficulty in this version. Currently I'm playing on version 27, so this may change. There's a nice fun use of abusing the dash, as well as the ducking maneuver. The ducking combined with the dashing makes finding some of these enemies pretty easier. Although some enemies like the Sniper Joes here, you can't dodge them by ducking. And yeah, and you're supposed to destroy both of these enemies in order to open that key, and over here in the segments to kill the enemies to proceed. But during some playthroughs, it never opened due to some glitch. In the following segments, you're supposed to destroy these bosses by basically setting off these bombs so that the explosion radius will actually hit the bomb. Which can be a little bit challenging at times, but it's relatively straightforward. Although the bombs do quite a bit of damage if you get hit by them. And also, it seems to be a good time to comment on the music. The music, for the most part, I enjoy. In fact, I kind of enjoyed more than the Mega Man 2 and the NES. Well, half of it at least. Like, for example, Airman's team, I pretty much enjoy the Game Boy version more. And this is especially true with Clashman's team. In Clashman's team, the NES I felt was kind of... it felt kind of inappropriate for what the stage was. Well, not really inappropriate, but it felt kind of boring in a way. And it had a kind of awkward team. Not as awkward as Needleman, Mega Man 3, but still. Whereas this one, even though it may not exactly fit the theme of, well, explosions, it feels like a nice soft tune and a lot more memorable, at least to me. Kind of a short loop though, but that's true with all the Mega Man 2 soundtracks, or most of them at least. But anyways, we're at Wily now, or the Robot Master, and here we have Clashman, who, similar to Metal Man, I feel is one of the hardest Robot Masters to face. Well, not as hard as Metal Man. Thankfully though, one of the differences is that in addition to actually throwing these bombs up, which you must destroy after 3 seconds, otherwise it'll result in an entire screen explosion which can quickly decimate you. When he throws those crash bombs at the floor, even if it hits you directly, you won't take any damage, as long as you don't get caught in the explosion radius. This wasn't the case in, for example, Super Danny Powered Up, where if you got hit by those crash bombs directly, you would take damage, and that made him a nightmare to face off, especially considering that his AI is fixed in this version. But here, because it doesn't do damage unless you get caught in the blast radius, which does hit like a ton of bricks, you don't need to worry about anything. But yeah, here we are at Woodman stage, which starts out mostly the same. We have the normal batons and the Robo Rabbits. Over here we basically have that unique enemy there. And I also got the Crash Blaster from the last part of the stage. And unlike the Crash Bombs, it's basically a screen clearing weapon. So yeah, basically does heavy damage to all enemies on the screen. But that enemy over there, basically if you shoot it with your Buster or the incorrect weapon, it will basically fire off at you, so you'll take some damage. That is, unless you use things like the Needle Crusher or the Metal Catcher, which will destroy its shield, and then you can take care of it pretty fast. Here we have the first mini-boss, which is a mini hot dog. And yeah, you can basically dodge under its shots by just ducking, so... And now we actually have the main mini-boss, the Hothead. Now, normally, if you didn't have the ability, if you went to Woodman first, you normally wouldn't have the ability to destroy that shield reflector. As such, you would have to go right in front of that Hothead, or hot dog, and shoot at it and jump over its fireballs. Or, of course, there's actually a slight area you can hide under on the left, where if you ducked, you could have actually dodged it. But otherwise, you would have to jump over the fireballs. But of course, because I had the Metal Catcher, I didn't need to worry about it. Much less of a hassle compared to the previous in the actual game. Here's another use of the Metal Catcher. Just like the Shock Gauntlet in Mega Man Rock Force, it can catch items if it hits them. And in this segment, it's different from the original Woodman. We go under the water, and we have basically these M445s, aka these robotic jellyfish, acting as the mole analogs. Although I feel like they drop more weapons, energy, life energy, as well as other things more often compared to moles. So this is a nice place to restock on life and weapon energy when necessary. Though, with the number of weapons I have right now, it's not really necessary. Unless you want to rack up more lives. Of course, the life counter left is kind of misleading. You can only obtain a max of 9 lives. You can't go over 9 lives, as misleading as you have 2 digits there. And here's another use of Metal Catcher. I believe you can't really get that life without having the Metal Catcher equipped. Over here we have to get past these atomic chickens, as well as all these bombs falling in the trees. And of course all these rabbits as well. But not too much of a problem. Also, as another important mechanical difference, I should have mentioned this earlier, Quint seems to have less life compared to Mega Man. Which makes sense really, considering in Mega Man 2 in the Game Boy, Mega Man did not have 28 bars of health. And for a quite different change of pace, suddenly Ice Stage. Yeah, this is slippery, and now we have to face all these penguins, which shoot eggs at us. I'm not sure why this was here, but oh well. And now time to face one of the little more challenging bosses to face off of in the first 4, or the Mega Man 2 set. What you're supposed to do, it's like the original Woodman fight in Mega Man 2, but it's like before, you basically have to be worried about his leaf shield, and keep firing at it so he can penetrate, jump over it, and avoid the series of 4 leaves falling on top. Though after each cycle, he'll throw a bomb which will explode into another leaf shield. So if you don't guide it correctly, you'll basically... you won't be able to shoot through his shield as easily. This boss fight is a lot easier once you memorize his pattern, and here I kinda did it sloppily. Oh well. And by defeating him, we got the leaf shield, which acts exactly like before, and compared to other weapons available in this game, I don't really use it that much, excluding for enemies that are near the ground. Anyways, I've defeated the Robot Masters from Mega Man 2, and in the next part, I'll be going after the set of Robot Masters from Mega Man 3. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Doodles!